Hello and welcome. My name is Adrena. I am the owner and accountant here at Accounting by Adrena. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing things that I do in QuickBooks Online that just make sense. If you are new here, I absolutely love making these types of videos in terms of QuickBooks, bookkeeping, accounting, planning, and anything and everything in between, budgeting. This is just my forte. I am in QuickBooks practically every day of my life. So I've come to find little ways that make my life a little bit easier in terms of navigating through the QuickBooks Online application. Previously, I did a video, things that don't make sense in QuickBooks Online. So I will go ahead and leave that linked below. And did you know that I have a weekly newsletter? So if you haven't signed up already to my weekly newsletter, go ahead and use that link below and sign up in my description box. So the way that they changed the description box, it just shows like the first sentence basically. So it might be like whatever we write into the description box. So you're going to have to click on read more or expand. I forgot the language there, but once you expand, then you'll see all of the links and the description to this video included in that description box. So make sure you expand it and check out those links that I provided to you. All right, actually, let's just get started with the first one. The first one is when I am an accountant working in QuickBooks Online, I have a really specific application that I use. It's called QuickBooks Online Accountant. That application basically houses all of my clients. And so I can switch in between different clients' QuickBooks Online accounts through my accountant version. If you had two separate QuickBooks accounts, you'd have to log out, log back in, and all of that jazz. So once I finish working in that QuickBooks Online account for that specific client for that particular day, I always click on the button called Back to My Firm. So I go back to my firm and it's my way of like resetting. And that's when I take a break. I stand up, I walk around my apartment, and sometimes I put a timer on for 5 minutes and I just walk around my apartment to kind of like get the blood flowing and make sure that I reset myself, because what I was doing in that client's QuickBooks account might be something different to what I need to do on my next task. So that is the first thing. I always click on Back to My Firm. This also helps and creates a trigger in my brain. Okay, we're done with this client. Let's move on to the next. All right, I am going to be sharing my screen now with you, and we're going to go into the sample QuickBooks Online account, and I'm going to show you a few other things that I do in QuickBooks Online that just make sense. So once again, this is a sample company, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that I do in QuickBooks Online that just make sense. So every time I log in to a client's QuickBooks account, I always click on the update button, and I want to show you how to do that. So you go here to bank transactions, and it's just this simple little button here called update. Now, every 24 hours or every 16 hours, I don't remember the occurrence, but QuickBooks automatically updates every banking connection. It's like basically overnight. But let's just say that there might be an occasion where you come into QuickBooks and it hasn't been updated in, let's say, 16 hours. If something posted to your bank account or to whatever account that you have connected here, it's not going to show in the banking feed. And if there is a conversation that I'm having with one of my clients in terms of any of the transactions that need to be entered, but it's not populating here on the bank feed, then it's really going to slow or hinder the work that I am doing. So this is like a no-brainer to me. I just come over here, click on update in the banking feed, and everything will update in the background while I am working on getting my paperwork or whatever in order so I can work on the task that I have to do. So this is where you would do that. You would come, it's called like the bank feed, bank transactions, come into the sidebar here, click on bank transactions, and then click on update. And then you can see that it's updating here. And then once it does finish like updating, then it'll say updated moments ago on this screen. And then you can go ahead and work on whatever task or expense, deposit, check, whatever that you were needing to work on. Now, the next thing that I do in QuickBooks Online that just makes sense to me is I open up multiple tabs. So again, this you can't really tell on this side of things, but when I have my accountant version, I have a separate toolbar that just says open new window. So I go ahead and open, I don't know, I have between 2 to 3 windows open at any given time. And that's only because if I need to switch between screens, like for example, if I'm working here in the banking feed and it says something about Bob's Burger, I want to go back and see if there was a historical transaction. So instead of doing all of these clicks and going here to the vendor file, clicking on Bob's Burger joint and trying to find whatever transaction or whatever thing I'm looking for, I will just have this vendor tab open, and then on another tab, I will have the QuickBooks Online account open. So I have a quick link there for the test drive version. So then I would just have both of these tabs open, and it just gets the job done so much quicker for me instead of like always toggling back and forth and doing all of these mouse clicks. It can disrupt your efficiency or your flow. All right. The next thing that I do that just makes sense in QuickBooks Online is to provide my clients with their monthly financial reports on a monthly basis. I do have a separate QuickBooks video showing my favorite monthly reports, and I'll link it in the description box below. But just to give you an idea or an example, you would come over here to the sidebar, click on standard reports. And one of the reports I do is like a company overview report. So this is a really neat report that kind of consolidates a few reports into one PDF file. So you can scroll through that and see if that meets any of your business needs in order to produce on a monthly basis. So the other reports are going to be found under the standard reports here. And there's the balance sheet and there's the profit and loss. And so you can go ahead and check out my favorite reports video to see a little bit more in detail about those specific reports. But another thing that I do in QuickBooks Online that just makes sense is to provide my clients a list of transactions, a detailed line item list of transactions on a monthly basis. This gives them an overall perspective of every single thing that is included in their QuickBooks account, in their GL, or however you want to say it. I don't think this version has it. I was just looking for it. Oh, there it is, transaction detail by account. So I usually put this into Excel and send that over to my clients on a monthly basis before I even produce monthly financial reports, because I want them to be given the information. They have it at their fingertips. And if I had coded something incorrectly, they thought it should be office supplies rather than marketing and advertising, that would be the moment that they would tell me, okay, actually, this expense needs to go to this category instead of marketing and advertising, whatever the case may be. You can, of course, modify and change this however you like it. So that's what that report looks like. And that is just something that I do to provide my clients on a monthly basis to have at their fingertips, at their ready, just all of the information that they need. And going along with that, another thing that I do that just makes sense is using an account called Ask the Client. So I'll usually just come over here to the chart of accounts, create a new account, and I will call it Ask the Client. And it'll just be an other expense account. Let's see. Okay, so I'll put it in like an other expense, other miscellaneous expense, save that. And if there is an expense that comes through the bank feed that I am like, Laura's lamination business card. Okay, that one is pretty specific. Let's find another one that might be a little confusing. Okay, Tanya's nursery. So nursery could mean multiple different things. This could mean childcare, or it could mean nursery where you get your plants and trees and things like that. If I were working on this client's QuickBooks account, I would click Tanya's nursery, and then I would go ahead and click Ask the Client and save that. So when I come over on a monthly basis to run that transaction detail report, it would populate its own category that would say ask the client, and it would be a list of transactions that I have no idea how they should be coded. That would be the time that they can provide the information back to me, and I can make all of the adjustments as needed. And to go along with that, another thing that I do that just makes sense in QuickBooks Online is using a class field that's just called question. So I believe the version of QuickBooks Online that uses the class field would be the QuickBooks Plus account. So if you have Essentials or lower, it's not going to show up for you, but it would show up under this list section. Another way you can also see it is under the account and settings to see which version of QuickBooks that you're using and if it has like a class field available. But anyways, that's beside the point. I wanted to walk you down that path in case you did have this question. Another thing that I do, not just to create this account that says ask the client, but to also create that additional class field that says question. So for example, if you're using the class field for different departments like your education department, your facilities, or your admin, and an office expense comes through the bank feed, but I don't know, let's say this was Laura's lamination business card, and I don't know which department that's going to be going to. So I would obviously say like Laura's lamination business card here, and under the account, it would be office supplies or office expenses, however you want to. And then it would be another field like this that I would just say question. And what that does is it prompts me to ask the client on a monthly basis, okay, this expense came through. I know it's an office expense, but which department do you want it to be coded to? So that is another thing that I do in QuickBooks Online that just makes sense. And lastly, the last thing I do in QuickBooks Online, although it's not really the last thing I do, but just for this video, is reconcile all the bank accounts on a monthly basis. Now, if you are not using this reconcile feature, it is so simple to use. It's going to be shown here under reconcile. You can also find it if you come to the sidebar and then reconcile. I believe there was another button here somewhere as well. There it is, reconcile under tools. So 3 different locations of where you can use it. And all you got to do is look at your bank statement on a monthly basis, get that statement ending balance. So let's say it's 7,000. And let's say the statement ending date is the 28th. So go ahead and start reconciling, and it's going to show you a list of all the transactions that came through from the last time you reconciled to the statement ending date. This is something that should be done on a monthly basis, and if you are a business owner working with an accountant, I would highly recommend you ask them when the last time they reconciled your bank accounts. This is something that comes like second nature to me at this point. I do this on a monthly basis without any thought. It's really simple to do. All you do is line up all of these expenses compared to your bank statement. And this is one way you can really identify if there was an additional transaction listed in your QuickBooks account that's not on your bank statement or your credit card statement. So you could do this with bank statements, credit card statements, basically with anything that has like a cash value that provides you like a monthly statement at the end of each month. So even if you had like a money market account, you can still do that with this. All right, friends, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.